How are we getting
How's
on?
it? I'm all right, bro. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad. I am like 90% recovered from COVID, so I'm happy that I'm not dead, for one. So it's all going well. How about you? How you getting on, man? How's things on your side of Yorkshire?
It's sunny today, which is quite surprising. But yeah, it's all good, thank you.
That's
Um, Absolutely exhausted, as per usual. I've not had COVID, touch wood, cross fingers and all that sort of thing, that we're not going to get that. But yeah, can't complain really, mate.
good man. So I was just saying to my people that have tuned in to watch that you basically this is going to be quite a fun one purely because of the randomness of your progression in terms of like athletics and just life in general. So basically, starting from the start, when I met Harry, you were competing in MMA. So let's start with that. Like, how did you get into MMA? Because it's like I say, it's a pursuit that not a lot of people do, and very few people can actually take it to the competition level. So what led you to gravitate towards wanting to learn MMA and then competing in MMA?
Um, I were a fat kid. Well, no, I were a fit kid. And then I turned to like 17, 18, started drinking and got fat. And then I was working with a lot of people in a bar in Wakefield who were all into martial arts. And they were like Andy Cooper and Mick Taylor, who at the day were like Yorkshire and competing in cage rage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was more of an interest and like the social side of it that drew me to it. And obviously, all these dudes, if you look at fighters, the majority of them are like stacked and got abs and stuff. So it seems, hello?
But like, oh yeah, you cut out for a sec there, Harry.
Oh,
Sorry, go
sorry,
on.
bro.
I was just saying, like, it's a good point that you make that people being like ridiculously stacked and everything like that, because it's not a direct reflection on toughness. And
No.
you're probably one of the tougher MMA fighters that I've come across. You know, like I've seen you in some pretty brutal fights, you know, and your capacity to take punishment and keep going and fight back and overcome it is pretty impressive, I have to say, you know. Um,
Yeah,
so
I was never ever the most athletic. It was the stubbornness to take a beating and not die that seems to be my attribute. I am like the kick-ass of the MMA world, or the. I'm definitely not an athlete.
well, to be fair, I think that is something that fans gravitate towards, that toughness, because there's quite like an everyman feel to it, you know, like if people root for the person that, like, if you look at like a standard fixed wrestling match, the hero always gets battered for ages and then comes back and wins, you know, and people like to see that kind of storyline. I say storyline because in an MMA it's not a storyline, but people like to see that type
Yeah,
of
it's just that dude that
thing.
gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, exactly. So like, when you see something like that, where that guy actually like pulls out the win and stuff, it's quite a feel good thing. You know what I mean? It is something that people gravitate towards, and I think that's why, like, you know, people kind of like gravitate towards you. Is that you're like that? You're a likable guy, you know, and like the fact that you're a likable guy that can also kick ass is a pretty good tribute, you know. Um, the thing I wanted to move on to, like, from your career, and you had like say when it comes to your fighting career, you didn't really have many easy matches. I mean, you fought at least one UFC veteran. Now, you know, it's like you had a bit of a baptism of fire, but
Yeah,
that
I think my
was
first three amateur fights, one was an amateur boxing champion. The other was a title fight that I took at last minute, and then the other one was Jai Herbert that ended up in UFC.
yeah. So I was going to say that's like quite like a murderer's road to start you off.
Yeah.
But your career was cut short due to injury. I remember we talking about this on our run, which I will get onto as well because it's quite a funny story in itself. Um, but talk to us a little bit about the mental side of having like your passion and at that point like something you're pursuing potentially as a career taken away from you when it comes to injury. It's something that not a lot of people have to deal with, and especially in fighting, because the bonds that you form in fighting gyms are really strong. You know, people suffer together and you form like a family, and having that taken away from you due to injury, what was like the mental side of that? What was the struggle that you had to
like
face going into that?
I think something that people don't understand, it's like when you play football or something, it might be there and you go for an hour a week and go train, or then you train at weekends. With MMA, it's literally, especially like I said, I was like 18 years old when I started. So I've just left college, got into a whole new friend circle. So everyone you know is pretty much from the gym, like your Facebook banter afterwards and all that sort of thing. You train with these guys at morning, you train with them at night, and then you see each other literally fight and put it all in. So it was definitely the social aspect of it that I missed after I did get injured. But I think with fighting, because it consumes so much of your life, especially when you're at a competition level, with all the diet, it's literally every minute you wake up and your day's planned around fighting. You'll wake up and you'll run it morning to try and lose weight. Then you have all your breakfast with your carbohydrates stacked out for the day and all your calories, and you know what you need to eat for training, and it's all there. So when that's taken away, you're like, right, what do I do now? It seems that it's so complex and regimented through your life, and then you don't really need to do that anymore. It is just get up and do what you want. I might as well, because previously, especially if you're in competition mode, you'd eat around that, and then afterwards you'd have a couple of days of consuming anything you wanted, and it'd be like, oh well, I can't drink this weekend because I'm fighting in 2 weeks. Or so when that's gone, it is, oh well, I'll just eat what I want. I'll have this bottle of wine, I'll drink this, and then it's just a slow slope to obesity and depression in it, really.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that is one of the things that I've kind of spoken about to some people, in terms of no one really teaches you how to adjust to life after fighting. That's why you see so many fighters that struggle with depression, and especially struggle with weight gain. Weight gain is a really key thing that you see in fighters, but they feel lost without that kind of like regimented life. And I'm guessing the weight gain that kind of follows from that is potentially what drove you into your next pursuit, which was insanely long distance running. Was that the case? Is that how did you find out that you could run such obscene distances?
Well, I think it goes back to the stubborn thing and not dying. It was purely by accident, to be honest, because when I was fighting, I'd run for like a mile or two before work when I first woke up, and it was just as a weight cutting thing. I wasn't good at it, and I always thought that people that did it was insane. I'd never think of running a marathon or anything. And then it was the Great North Run, because I used to watch like on a Sunday morning with Great North Run, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I used to watch all these runs where people are dressed up as Teletubbies or rhinos and doing all this sort of crazy stuff. And I thought, man, I'd love to do something like that. And it was my wife, and she was just like, just do it. Just do Great North Run. Like, why not? And I was like, all right, sweet. And I've never seen a training plan or anything like that. And it will literally just give it a crack and see how it goes. And like I say, when you're fighting, you win or you lose. It's that guy in front of you, and do you know what I mean? You can say, well, you're better than me on this day, so fair enough. And you know where you are. Your thing is, with running or endurance sport, there is no end. It's not as if, do you know what I mean? You can finish a race, but it's how you feel inside. I could go further. I could go faster. And it's always that pursuit of the next level of, see how it goes. So, yeah, so I did a few half marathons, and it's hard when you first do it, and then it's like, I wonder if we could do a full marathon. And then you kind of just push it and push it and push it until you see what you're capable of.
Well, to be fair, just to put into like perspective of like the amount of distance that Harry runs and the pace that he keeps. So I'm using myself as an example, and I'm not a great example because I'm not a great runner, but I went on a run with Harry with my client Katie, who's watching this. So hey, Katie. And Katie is a much better example because she's an aerobic machine in terms of like fitness. Once she hits a zone, she'll keep going. And we all went for a 10-mile run. It was a 10-mile run for me and Katie, but Harry had done 10 miles prior to meeting us for the second 10 miles, and his pace didn't drop. So we've seen Harry like jogging around, and he just jogged over to us like he'd been for a little, like, gentle jog in the park, picked us up, and then done another 10 miles and matched our pace for the entire 10 miles. And funnily enough, looking at the picture that I'm going to put up as the thumbnail for this, you actually finished first. So I think it's you holding the camera and the two of us behind you. So us on that run as well. And like I say, it's relatively impressive that you did that to me, even though I'm not a great runner. But to do that to Katie as well is a very impressive thing. Like your endurance is ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely insane.
Oh, thank you.
In terms of, like I say, so you're pushing the boundaries in terms of running further and further and further. What's your goals? Like, what are you aiming to achieve? Do you have any kind of sights in mind that you wanna go for?
Well, I think the problem is once you say it on film, then it's down in it. But yeah, so I've got the big one so far this year. I'll be running for Rangers Ultra, which is that's going to be 5 days ultra, so that's 5 days back to back. Yeah, I think that's 230 kilometers through nature reserves in Kenya.
Wow.
So it's split across 5 different days. So it's a company called Beyond the Ultimate that do these sort of things. And it's all obscure places around the world in Arctic or in desert and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's September this year that it'll put off from last year. So pretty much all the races and events this year will be building up towards that. which is good. But obviously, it's got lots of different aspects when you come to that multi-day stuff, but we can go to that another time. And the biggest one, there's a race in England called the Spine, which is pretty much the Pennine Way.
Right.
I think it's 268 mile. You do it in a oneer, and I think current record's like 78 hours. So that's like the hardest. Well, that is one of the hardest races, and obviously coming from this area, it's the most local, notorious bad one. But it's in January as well, so it means you've got all the aspects of frostbite and snow.
Yeah, I was going to say also you've got the runoff from Christmas of probably eating more than you should. Not ideal when it comes to training. And then trying to tackle something like that, it sounds absolutely insane. I can't lie, that sounds ridiculous.
But it's weird, like we said that about running 10 mile and like 20 miles. It's weird, isn't it, when you get into like a different spectrum of people? Because people at work are like, what, you can run a 10K, stuff like that. But then when you get into different spectrums of people, if you look at like my Facebook or my Strava, I've got like the next level of athletes where I'm thinking, Jesus, he just runs like 70 miles and that's like their standard training runs, and you got people that are doing 30, 40 mile on a weekend and thinking, no, do it. Yeah. It's weird how like the step progression is from normal people to obviously the super pros.
I think, to be fair, I think that's quite a good thing in terms of people in general having something to aspire to. Because if you're ever in the position where you're at the top of the mountain, then what? It's like, what do you do when you're the best? So if you have, like, say, I don't know, in CrossFit world, you have Matt Fraser 5 years in a row, like just absolutely smashing the field. Where do you go from that? You're not chasing anyone. You have nothing to aspire to. And I think that people need that. People will be watching this and hearing what you're doing and being like, right, I need to, and they'll be chasing you. You know what I mean? But then you have a list of people that you're chasing as well. And I think that you need that in life in general. Like, you always need to be aspiring to something. There's something about the journey that is more rewarding than actually getting to the pinnacle, really.
Definitely. I think it's the hunger and the learning process about yourself and what you can do that is a big part of endurance sports. Yeah. Like I say, it's that deep understanding of yourself along the journey that pushes you through it, I think.
When it comes to, so we were talking about like multi-day ultra races. Have you tried to replicate anything like that in training? Have you tried like a couple of long runs back to back over the days to see what's your like experience with it been so far?
Well, again, it's a lot of trial and error because there's not a lot of people that will tell you how this works. You know what I mean? There's some that will, like, everybody's different. I'm 6'3", so I need a lot of calories. I've crashed out multiple times trying stuff, which I think that's how you learn. It's testing it, and then if it fails, trying something else and then testing it again. So sorry listeners, I've weed blood quite a few times through dehydration over long days. I've passed blood from my other holes where I've I've been that dehydrated, or my body started consuming itself because I've not eaten correctly and kept my thing alive. I'm actually working with a company at the minute. So Resilient Nutrition, awesome. They're helping out with a lot of diet stuff at the minute. Nice. So the problem that you've got is one event's not so bad because you can damage yourself and be all right. Multi-day, so if you're doing 5 days, and I think each day is about 30 mile, it means you've got, so if I run a marathon, it's usually about 3,500 to 4,000 calories that I'm going to burn, depending on environment and terrain and things like that. So that's a lot of food you've got to carry. And then if you think that's only during the event, after the event, then you've got all your recovery food and things like that you've got to carry. So if you're running for 5 days and you've got to carry all your own food, you need to make sure that everything's on track, because if it's not, then you read stories about people that have tried pack too light and have pretty much just been in a calorie deficit all the way through, and it's not an enjoyable experience. So the guys at Resilient Nutrition make a lot of nut butters and things like that are like 600 calories for 100 gram. So that's where you need maximum calories for minimum weight. Yeah. So you think when you're doing 230 kilometers, you've got everything in your backpack and you don't really want to be taking a lot. Plus water. Water's a massive one. I've suffered so much through dehydration. Like I say, with the whole wean blood thing a few times, that's not been cracking.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yes, it's where you got to try, you're like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, something's not right here. I mean,
Yeah.
to like contextualize what you're saying here, like I'd run one marathon in my lifetime and it was freaking awful. And the next day I was wiped out. Not only the next day, but like after the marathon. So I approached the marathon without any food or anything like that. So I basically ran the whole marathon. By the end of it, I've never been to the point where I was literally wanting to pass out so much. Like in terms of just being exhausted, like the sugar crush had hit me because I've been having the gels on the way around and stuff. And I was just so wiped out. The thought of having to get up the next day and run another marathon and the next day and do another marathon is like, it's something I can't wrap my head around. You know, that sounds so unfeasibly awesome, awful. It's just, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, so I've done a couple. I think the one where you was running, you and Kate, that was one of them that I crashed out on. But I think that was, I can't remember it was. I think it was like 22 miles first day, then 20 miles with you, and that was like a continual big day. It's that as soon as you start going and you get into it and your legs stop seized, and you're all right. But we did another one where that were like 5 half marathons back to back, and it's the same sort of thing. But surprisingly, when you get into the rhythm, you're all right. It's like the second or the third that hurts, but then as you start progressing, one of the big thing is obviously your food, like we said, but your feet. You need to make sure that you invest in some good socks and some good trainers, because it's that pays dividends when you're out in field.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is as well, I think it's like after a certain amount of hurt, your body just kind of accepts, like, right, okay, this is just how I feel now. You know, this is what my life is. This is just me. So it's, I think it is something that, like you say, you can kind of slip into a groove and just accept the fact that you're going to hurt, and you're going to hurt pretty badly for quite a long time. It's only when you stop and rest and your body starts to feel better that you realize how bad you were feeling. Like, you know, like, oh, Jesus Christ, like everything hurts.
But the same way fighting. I noticed whenever I were in a fight camp, you do like 6 to 8 weeks before, absolutely smashing all your body.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, that's when you get injured, when you stopped, because like your body would like be tightened up and you won't stretching or anything like that. So when you're in the pain game, it's all right. It's only when you stop that you think, everything's painful.
Yeah, yeah. That's the, it's all, like I say, a few days after something horrendous like that, that you wake up and you think, why have I done this? And I started to notice it myself, like, when I have a few days off of training, for example, and like my body stopped hurting as much as it was, I realized how much it was hurting. Like, oh Jesus, like maybe it's like I'd love to know what it feels like one day to wake up completely pain free and then go back into my current body and be like, oh, this is not normal how I'm feeling, you know, just from like chronic overtraining. But I mean, when it comes to the kind of runs that you're looking to do, there's no real way to prepare for something that horrendous, really. You know,
it's just time on feet is the biggest thing. There's a lot of people that say like they'll have stand-up desks and things like that, so you can try and progressively do it. But it's just long hikes in hills, carrying backpacks, and like I said, just trying to get in a multi-day system for what you can do. It's just trial and error a lot with the food. If you can process food better and your body can accept the food better, then it means you can go further. Like saying with the crashing with the sugars and things, if you get the right foods in you and the right variations and your body's used to using different fuel types, then you're all right. It makes it slightly easier. I think it's like the first time you run a 10K, when you get to that like mile 5, mile 6, you're like, oh man, this is awful. And then next time you do it, you think, oh, it's not that bad. And then you get to the half marathon and it's the same thing. I think the pain is still exactly where it is. The pain is exactly the same. I think your barrier, it just slightly moves further and further away. So it's more acceptance of that.
Yeah, well, that was the what they call it, the 40% rule. So like when you think you're at your most physically exhausted, you're about 40% done. It's just the fact that the majority of the resistance you get is from the mind, because the mind wants to protect the body. So the mind will always seek the path of least resistance. So you'll get that, stop, you're tired, you know, you're this, you're that. And you have to kind of train your mind to be like, no, we've got a long way to go. You know, is there any kind of mental training or anything that you've done that made you so tough in terms of like your MMA and your running or anything like that? Or is it just something you were born with?
I don't know. I've spoken to people about this before. It is just a stubbornness. I think it's just growing up with an older brother, so you used to get your ass kicked and stuff all the time. And I think it is, I've always really been the same. I think it is just a stubbornness that I don't die. It's grit. I kind of like it, to be honest. I like it sounds stupid. I'm not trying to act hard, but I kind of like the grind. I like it being tough, because I think it's one of those things, isn't it? the whole type 2 fun that people describe, where you go on a roller coaster, it's like, yeah, that's awesome, and then it's done. Whereas you struggle your way through a marathon, and you know from mile 16 that you want to stop and you're dying. When you cross that finish line and you're like, holy shit, I did it, like, it's a whole new realm of awesome that's going over your body.
Yeah, that feeling of overcoming something so ridiculously hard, there's a lot to be said for it. Like, striving through pain to achieve something like that is an unbelievable feeling. And whatever it may be, like, for some people it might be the 5K, for some people it might be 10, for some it would be like going to have the MMA fight or a grappling match. Whatever your struggle is, getting in there and getting through it is the feeling you get on the other side. There's nothing like it. You know, it's such an unbelievable feeling, and it's something that I would say to people that are watching this and you're thinking about, oh, I want to go and do my couch to 5K. You know, they want to start their journey running. Get out and do it, because when you hit that 5K, the feeling you'll get for persevering and getting through that is unbelievable. You know, there's nothing like it.
No, we've always been, as a family, we've been in a big just do it sort of situation. Like, you don't mind, you will be scared, just do it. It's fine. You might fail. Who cares? Do it. You're only going to live once, aren't you? Seize the day and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's very much the case of, like, if you die without any scars, you know, you didn't have the most exciting life. So it's one of those, isn't it? The thing I wanted to kind of like circle back to, what would you say to people? So you're saying, like, your MMA pursuits were ended due to injury. Firstly, tell people about that injury, but secondly, what would you say to people that find themselves in a position where a sport that they love has been taken away from them through no fault of their own, be it injury or illness or anything like that? Like, what kind of words would you give them as either like guidance or advice, or, you know, general thoughts from your own experience?
So I ended up coming out of a fight, like I say, when your body's all hypertensioned and all that sort of thing. Coming out of a fight, and then I was in training, ended up I dislocated my collarbone and damaged my shoulder, rotator cuff. And as anybody knows with rotator cuffs, they're all crap and you can't get them back same. It's a bit like knees, innit? So I carried on training for a bit afterwards. I didn't really seek any medical help, just carried on, just grinding it like through the MMA way. Yeah, I ended up then competing again with a damaged shoulder to Jai, who ended up in UFC, got my ass kicked. And after that, I was like, man. But then obviously that was time when, so it wasn't necessarily all due to injury, but that was a big part of it, where I got a bit of a rest in my life away from competing. And that's when, well, I suppose it leads nice on to the next bit. That's when I got a break from competing. But because it was still a big part of my life, I wanted to try and stay with that circle of people and fill that void that I didn't have. I thought, I'm a big believer in you should try get involved with, if you like running, read running magazines and do this, and eventually like your hobby will grow into your career and then you'll love what you do. So when I got injured, I wanted to still be close to the sport, so I started working with Your MMA, doing reports and things for fights, and that led me on to all sorts of different things within sports. So I started doing different media with interviewing and commentary. So I still do commentary now as a bit of a sideline as well. And I think it's just about keeping your passions with what you do, basically. So, and then, I don't know about you, but I'm quite a competitive person anyway. Yeah. So I needed to fill, for my waistline and for my competitiveness, I needed to find something that actually filled that void of sport, which is why I started running, and obviously that led us to where I am now. It is just there's always something, just follow some sort of passion that you've got, whether it's collecting stamps, be the best stamp collector you can possibly be, or you could be a professional Lego builder. I think you just needed to commit and do what you like doing. I think that's like a big part of life. And then obviously you can make that into what it is. It'll turn into a job and then you can love it more. And
I think that's really, really good advice. And I think it is also a testament to you and your drivenness and your stubbornness, kind of combination of both, that like the average person that starts running will be content, you know, they'll go out and they'll start running, they'll get fit. But then someone who's competitive like you and driven like you, goes out and then starts running like for 6 days straight, you know, and covering like the distance of the whole country, you know. It's like
my first 10K, because I only had a Casio watch and I had no idea about pacing, and I only ever ran on my own. So it was literally, I'd just try and run. I had no idea. I just sat off as fast as I can until whatever. My first race where I was actually with people and other runners, I ended up coming fourth because I started up front because I had no idea what I was doing, and everybody just set off, and I was like, well, just stay with group then, bobbing along, and I was that competitive. I didn't want anybody passing me.
Yeah.
I had no idea how fast I did it or what. I just maxed out, redlined it from first mile, and nearly died. Yeah, I came fourth.
That's a good effort, that. Although it is, they say, I can't remember who said it. I think it was actually in a film I watched recently. They said the worst thing in sports is coming fourth at the Olympics because you don't get a medal. Yeah. So was that when you passed that? Did you feel like almost top three? Was that one of those?
I won't mind, but I didn't know idea at course or anything. Where nowadays I've got an idea what I'm doing, so I'll like plan it out and think, right, I can be quick here, I can be slow here, and all that sort of thing. Where I had no idea, and it would probably last 400 metres that kid overtook me, and I thought, okay, it's going a bit nippy around this bit, and I didn't realise it's because end were around corner. So
yeah. Well,
hindsight's a beautiful thing.
I think, like, to put this into perspective for people watching, if you're looking at Harry Strava, his idea of fast and his idea of slow are very different from the average runner. So if you aspire to be Harry's slow, that's still a pretty good pace. So if you look at that and you think, Jesus Christ, that's his slow, that's a good pace. So don't hold that against yourself. That's kind of what I aspire towards anyway. The last thing I kind of want to chat to you about is the randomness of you becoming a chicken farmer, and now a farmer in general, I suppose. Like, give us a story. How did this happen?
Like I say, it was all a bit random. When me and my wife bought, me and my wife bought a house, and I'd always liked animals and things like that. We've got dogs. So when we bought this house, we realised when we looked at plans, because it's like an old Victorian terrace, it's got a yard in the back. There were one of the points on the bottom was no restrictions in livestock.
Nice.
And I was just like, sweet, we can get something. And then we started looking down the route of chickens. So it's like as a health thing. We thought it'd be nice for kids. And then we found battery chickens. So it was the ex-battery chickens that we ended up getting first of all. So we've got 3 of them in his back garden to teach kids about where food come from. And it was like a nice thing to do, rescuing chickens. So it kind of all spiraled from. I think we actually saw it. It was 4 years yesterday that we ended up getting those first chickens. And again, we like to commit. So we went from having them chickens, and then we ended up getting a few more. So I think we had 5. And then one of my wife's friends had a hatching project at school, so we ended up with some chicks. And it was all just a progressive thing. So from that, we thought we kind of like this lifestyle. We liked the countryside and going out and making your own food. So then we started. I found an organic farm, Swillington Organic Farm. So I started. We thought, right, well, this is the dream. We want to get a small holding in the middle of nowhere and produce his own food. So went to the organic farm and just offered to help out for experience, basically. So obviously they just bit his hand off. Some young dude wants to come and move horse muck about and carry stuff and do that sort of thing. So I couldn't believe the look. So I said, don't pay me, just teach me what I need to know. And then it kind of escalated from there. Now we've got a small holding in Swillington, growing his own food and looking after animals and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that, like, expanding, and it made me laugh on the Facebook post that you put out. When I think it might have been sad for you. Johnny's watching this. Hey Johnny, how you doing? We were looking at, like, you put a thing out about what animals to get, and obviously all being like guys, we were nominating the ridiculous ones, so like micro pigs and pygmy goats, and you were told that your wife has banned you from getting novelty animals, is she?
No, it was the owner of a farm, because she's a proper traditional farmer. She was like in big bold letters towards the bottom. You were like, yeah, you're allowed whatever. She says, but no novelty animals. So like no micro pigs or. He said you don't have to dress up either.
yeah, oh, man. Like, I don't know. Like, in terms of, like, I would be probably the worst farmer because I hate early mornings and all that. But if I did fall into the farmer life, I'd imagine that I would have a farm exclusively full of novelty animals. That would be my jam. That would be it. You know, so it's got to be a bit of a tough one to not have the temptation to go out and get a whole bunch of novelty animals like that.
Yeah.
Like micro pig. I'll probably get a couple of ducks as well, just because, you know, why not?
Just because.
Yeah, gotta have some ducks. They're ace.
But oh,
Johnny said, nothing novelty about tiny goats. They produce a lot of serotonin. Yeah, it's true. He makes a good point there. You could get away with that, I reckon. One of the posts that you put up, I can't remember when it was, to be fair, but it absolutely killed me, was I think the first time you got bitten by one of your chickens. I was mentioning this to a class I was doing online at lunchtime, and I was telling people to come and check this out. Just that you posted a picture of probably the angriest looking chicken I've seen in my life, and your hand. And you're like, yeah, you bit me.
yeah.
Is that a regular part of your life now, getting bitten by chickens and mauled?
Yeah, we're especially with kids as well. So we've got young kids that obviously like getting stuck in, and yeah, chickens, they just like anything. So I think they have to be worried about, or not worried about, cautious about whenever you see chickens. They like anything bright and shiny because it's something different, so they peck it. So if you've got like earrings or necklace or sunglasses or even your eyeball in wrong light, they'll just start pecking away. It's not aggressive, it's just curiosity.
Yeah. That's yeah. It's like I can never get out of my head. Like I watched a video of a chicken hunting a mouse, and it made me realize, like, yeah, getting pecked by a chicken would not be a nice thing at all. You know, that's gonna be pretty grim.
Yeah, with I think last year we saw at least 3 sparrows getting savaged by chickens in back garden.
Jesus Christ!
They would wait. Because there'd be chicken food out. They'd wait tactically until sparrows would land, and then they'd just storm them, and they'd just obliteration, free protein. That's it.
I reckon, like, if you could get your chickens some like thug life gear or something like that. It sounds like, you know, those sparrows, you come to the wrong neighborhood and you're
yeah, sorry, bro,
just like running and mess them up. Wrong neighborhood, motherfucker. It's one of those times. So in terms of like your aspirations with your farming, is that the goal, to basically live like a self-contained lifestyle where you feed yourselves and you have, like, I suppose, live off the land essentially? Is that the goal for you?
I don't know if it's possible to do it 100% over here. It's definitely the dream to live more like that. At the minute, we're just down at the farm, just living that. We're doing weekends of just digging and planting, kids playing in mud. It's awesome. It's like it's a great experience for kids. It's insane workout. So on Saturday, last week, me and my wife decided that we needed a wildlife pond. So she's like, oh, can you do a wildlife pond this weekend? So we ended up digging a pond that was 4 meter long by 3 meter wide by hand. And it was just 6 hours of digging and then moving mud and rocks and all sorts of stuff. And I don't know, the type 2 fun. When you go to bed after that, you just think, yeah, man, I've had like a good day. I've grafted.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like I say, there is something to be said for like, say, overcoming horrendous things like your runs and like digging for 6 hours, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's harder and harder to do over here because you haven't got that like amount of land. But I love watching the Ben Fogle Lives in the Wild and stuff like that, where they just go to these remote places and just live awesome life. It's just a sweet experience in life, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's an experience that not that many people, at least not that many people that you come in contact with in the city, especially, are accustomed to. You know, people don't they're not used to waking up very early to care for a shitload of animals. You know what I mean? It's a lot of responsibility that you're taking on there, really. Yeah,
well, I mean, you don't see it like that. One of the things that I notice, I get all these people and it'll be like, they'll think it's crazy and they'll like have a bit of a joke like, oh, do you mean you're a farmer and all this sort of stuff? But then when you actually start speaking to them about it and why you do it and producing your own food and welfare standards and quality of life for kids and getting out and like... Kids didn't watch TV this weekend or go on PlayStations and stuff. It were all just out and about playing football and on, do you know what I mean? Out and about. And then they realise, like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not that crazy and it is a good idea. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think, to be fair, I think that is something that all parents should aspire to with young kids, especially these days. And especially given the fact that we've basically been locked in for a year with COVID anyway. You know, they had enough time to play PlayStation now. Get them out and enjoying the world, especially now that Easter's coming and it looks like, touch wood, it's going to be a bit more sunny. Although I have heard they're getting sleep this week anyway. So
not reckoning that I'm a good dad or anything. I literally bribed them. We've got some Easter eggs out for just early to bribe kids downstairs to keep them down there and shut up. So for tea or pre-tea, they're having a couple of Easter eggs now.
I'm fully supportive of that. In fairness, like if I had my way, every pre-tea I ever had would be Easter eggs. You know, if I was left to my own devices, that would be my jam. Right. So that's the kind of what I wanted to go through, Harry. If people wanted to follow you and look at all the insane things that you're getting up to, including your runs and your general chicken farming, everything like that, where can they find you? What's your Instagram handle?
So I've got my normal one that's for running and whatnot is Harry Strutt, but then we started another shared one for the farm, which is Strut_farm. We've got all those pictures and chickens and just messing about and trying to live that farm life and the whole adventure thing on there as well. So
Sweet.
yeah.
So for everyone watching that, if you want to see Harry running, like I say, if you were tuned in earlier and you heard him talking about the absolutely insane runs that he's going to be doing in the next year, then follow him on his personal page. And if you want to see him getting bitten by chickens and various other funny things, then follow his farm. Cheers for that anyway, Harry. Always good to catch up with you. Hopefully we'll get out and have another run with you soon. At the minute, I think my running is capped at 2 to 3K that I can manage at the minute until I'm fully recovered. But it will be good to get out and run with you again at some point. So I'll drag over some more of our lot that are ready to take their running to the next level to join you.
Sweet. Right. Awesome speaking to you, bro.
Yeah, always, man. And thanks for everyone that tuned in and watched that. I'll catch you all next week, Monday, for another one. See you later, guys.
Cheers, dude. Bye.
See you later, Harry.